Well, we are going to build this shed, and I'm going to take you through, show you the tips, the tricks, and the simplicity of putting this together. It is a Craftsman 7x7 resin or plastic shed. It is not difficult. It's a lot easier than building one from 2x4s. You don't have to climb up on the roof. Everything is going to be just fine. So come with me on this journey and let's build this shed step by step together using the instruction manual and a few tools, and we are good to go. So let's get started. So here we're starting on a shed. It's a Craftsman 7x7, and we got the castles or the deck building blocks, and we're framing it up right now. So we got all the pieces out of the box and laid out, and Roy's going to help us too.
Do you want him in the video?
That doesn't matter. So the nice thing about all this, you can see each one of them are identified. Some of them come flat, some of them come bent up. Those two pieces over there are for the flooring, which will go on our deck, and we still have to cut the excess plywood as the directions say. So we're at this section here, and it shows how to put the clip on the door. In the instructions here, it says to use the 4 screws from D. So to find what screws they're talking about, go back here into the book, and here they have the screws. So here's our screw right here, DDD. Now right here tells you the number of the bag. Now since I've already, what did I do with that bag? I just ripped it open. Well, as you can see here, the bag has numbers on it. So these are the screws from that bag, and that's how you make sure that you use the proper attachments for the proper hardware. Also, this one's supposed to go this way. Oh, and if my pictures are bad, it's because I got sunglasses on and I'm using my phone. No, that's backwards. Flip it the other way. There you go.
Not working.
Make sure it's in the hole for the screw thing.
It's fine, crooked.
We'll put the other screw in. There you go. Remember, don't go all the way down, just enough to get it in. So here you see I got my handyman putting in the screws to hold the upper door latch.
Shit.
It says to use the hand screwdriver in the instructions, but what we did on our drill bit, we turned it down to the lowest pressure, so that way we can still use the drill, the battery operated drill. The handyman does it again. So 2 screws from bag. The last 3 is 375 is the last 3 numbers of the bag. There's 2 listings in here for NN right here, which is confusing. And then you go back to this other page right here, and here's another for NN. But this is the one that we're going to be using. And there you go, not too tight. Alright, so when putting the mesh on the triangle top, you gotta use a hand screwdriver. We figured out can't use the battery drill. No.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to use a hand screwdriver, because once those threads get caught up into the netting, it tears it up.
Also, it said in the instructions not to use any electrical.
It's not electric, it's battery.
Same thing. What do you think runs on batteries? Electric devices.
I hear ya, Kate. Alright, so we're gonna put this in next. Alright, so we're going to be putting the, what is that called? The front header in these triangle pieces. Put the screws in firm, but do not over tighten them. That's what you'll find a lot of it written in the instructions of this. Also, even though it's a Craftsman, the whole thing is made by something. Anyway. Oh, Kate.
Oh, get monetized now, sorry.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, good.
I think, Kate, that goes on the outside. Yeah, the screws go on the inside to the outside. Yeah. And to apply the channel, of course, you flip it over, and there's this little groove right here. Go all the way around. Don't stretch it. Try to put as much in there as you can, and this will be your watertight seal for your sunroof. Alright, so for mine, you can see right here I have maybe about 1/2 inch. I'm going to try and squeeze it back, and I'm going to cut a little bit longer than lining up exactly, so that way it'll fit in there more snug. You'll notice here in my corners, I put as much in there as I could, but when you compress it, it'll still flatten right there. Alright, so right here, my seam, we'll aim down on the roof. We don't want this on the top because that will create a leak. So put it down, and you notice how even though it puckers up just a tiny bit, I made it a tiny bit longer so it will get in there and be snug and help give a good seal.
Don't put it in the corners.
Oh yeah, and don't start in the corners, start in the center right here. Now, to put these sunroof pieces on, what I did was I started with the bottom, and also notice that my opening for the gasket in here is at the bottom too. So we're going to go ahead and line up the bottom. Don't mind me, I'm on my phone. And you notice I got my drill set at 2 or something. So what we're going to do here is we're going to, hopefully, I got the sun not in my favor, so hopefully I can get this. So we're going to try and line it up with that bottom pin first. Is it in there?
That's what he said.
Okay. So line it up with that bottom pin. And then you'll find that all of them fall into place easier.
Okay.
Okay, now you hear how mine is set for not to over tighten. So the torque is set on the drill. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the top ones and then finish the rest of them here. So make sure that when you get through that you're tight, because if they're not tight, the water will leak. This is your sealing piece. Okay. All right, so we have pre-assembled the trussels and the triangle, the door and the sunlight and the sunroof. So, because we work 3rd shift, we're calling it a day. We'll be on it tomorrow morning.
Center, where the center part pops out.
Okay, so here we're putting on the screws for the bottom panel. You'll notice that there's these little holes. Line the screw up into the center. We changed the torque on our power drill there, so it goes snug, but it doesn't go all the way through. You'll be putting six screws across the center of this bottom flooring foundation. So to make it easier, we've set the panels. These are the back ones. This is a side corner. We got another back one, and Kate's got the front corner, back corners. So we put them around where they were supposed to go. So we've got our second one up. We put it in the groove. We don't have a rubber mallet, so I used a 2x4 with just a regular roofing hammer. So now I'm going to put these in, and they supply you with a tool. Okay, you just put it in. You can see the big holes that it goes into. Oops. So back at our book, I showed you the 4. So now, basically the whole process is going to be pretty simple. My makeshift software's here. The book shows you which ones to go next. You can see the letters across the top. And to simplify all that, you can see the letters down here at the bottom says side panel, and the other piece says up. It's just a matter of sliding them all in and screwing them all together. I'll see you after all my walls are put up. Alright, so we came across this here. The hole was not cut out from the manufacturer. So we're going to take a utility knife and cut it out. It's supposed to look like this. So we're going to cut that out, and then we'll be able to screw the plastic screws in. It wasn't too difficult to get the sides up. So now we're going to go ahead and see what's next. Just make sure all your screws are in firmly. The little screws did have tabs on the back side. So the picture is showing here that the next thing will be the headers and the trusses. So you can see in your book what you're supposed to do. We've already pre-assembled everything that needs to be on there. I guess you can see I'm sweating. And so we're going to go ahead and put those up. The header and the truss was pretty easy to put in. It could have been a one-person job, but I had Kate's help, so we got it done. We've been working on the flooring, the sidewalls, the headers and truss for an hour and a half. So it wasn't too bad getting this far. Plus with the pre-assembly, that helped a lot. Next, we're going to add on the piece that goes right here in the middle. I guess they call it that ridge cap, or that ridge piece right there. Oh, ridge beam is what it's called. The center top of that truss gets a screw, the same screw we've been using on everything else. The two end pieces that hold that ridge header in, I did not tighten. I just put them in and making it so it's flexible enough so when we put the roofing panels on, we can adjust it as needed. Now, I'm not going to show you this because it's 7 feet in the air. I was on a ladder, safety first. But line up the piece that goes over it to this header piece. You can look up through the bottom. There's an open on the cutout, and you can line up the two holes, and then you can put that screw in. You notice the screw is NN. It's the same screw you've been using all along. So do that, and then we're going to go to the next page. So the next thing that we're going to put up is this support, and that'll be for, you know, this center trestle, and that'll help keep it square. So check your beginning of the book here for the size of the bolts needed, DD and NN. So the support went in very easily. We did the same side on both sides. So the next thing they're showing is the prep. So one side of the panel is going to get this upper ridge vent put on. Okay, in the book it shows you how to attach it, and make sure you put the washers in there and read this carefully. Okay, when it comes time to put the panels on, this cover here will go on over the top of the panel. Okay, it sounds a little confusing, but just be patient and I'll show you what I did. But we still need to attach the ridge cover to one of the sides here. Let me see if it says. It says the right roof panel. So you want to put it onto the right roof. Look on the inside of your panel. It'll say right or left. Okay, let's do that next. So this will be the bag attaching the roof pieces together, and you see the washers in here. I don't want to open it up because I don't have a bowl or anything to pour them into. Okay, so here we got the black screws and the washers. This is all one bag. These washers have a rubber side and a metal side. The rubber side goes against the plastic. Let me show you how we're going to line them up. Okay, so here's how we're going to set it up. The metal side of the washer goes against the screw head, and the rubber side will go down. And here I'm at the end And you see this indent right there? That's how it's going to go in. Just right there. And there's 5 of them across. Okay, so this is the right front panel with the front cap right here. And I got it all screwed in. Okay, so do the same to the second right panel with the rear ridge cap. Okay, so they want you to recognize the slots that are here. Okay, it took a few minutes to understand it. This is the left panel. It doesn't have that ridge cap on it, but it has 6 slots. Okay, now if you look at the little header pieces here, they have the slots that the left pieces have to go into. Okay, and you'll also see how they'll overlap. So we're going to go ahead and put the left pieces up now and line them up for those slots and then slide them down in. And that'll be, can you see the slots up there on the top? I got the sun in my eyes, so it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the slots right there. Now, from the inside where these slots were, I had to put my hand outside to pull it down, and then put my fingers here to slide it, and you can hear it lock. So there's 3 grooves up there that you have to put your hands in there to slide it down. You'll also notice too is that when you get here to the center, this is out of sync, but you can see how you can slide it. We have to put some screws in there so it'll all line up. So once you get this panel up here, that center truss that you got there, you have to make sure that the lip of this panel here is in the center. And even though it's kind of floppy right now because it's not really considered square, this is the picture showing how they want you to put it in that truss right there. Okay, let's see what it's on next page. Don't screw anything in just yet. Yeah, so the next page shows to put the other side panel in, which would be right here. And you're going to line up those 3 tabs and slide it down, making sure that this is also in that center. And see how it'd be overlapping? Okay, and then we'll move on to the next one. Now this is showing the ridge cap, but we're not there yet. Okay, so we're going to line up this other side to this other side. No screws yet. Okay, and so here's our tabs for the back. That's what you want to line up the next panel on. Nice thing about putting the roof up, there's not as much sun burning down on you. Okay, I have to give you a tip. The floor panel in here, when putting this ladder on, will indent some. I suggest using the excess piece of plywood that you use to cut off. I'm overweight. I'm not proud of it, but this is helping me from making the ladder dig into that plastic and possibly break it. So that's my suggestion for that. Alright, so this back panel, you definitely need 2 people. One to take this panel here and push it in, and then once you get those tabs lined up right here, you can take your hand up here and pull it down. It took a little effort, but we got it in. So we're going to go ahead and put the other side up, which will help close this gap and all this sun. It's middle of June here in Virginia, and it's about 90 degrees out here and I'm sweating. Okay, got that last piece in. It was a little tight, had to go outside and push it in. Make sure that your channel here is lined in. So you might have to take this piece and push it that way, and this piece and push it that way. I haven't screwed anything in yet, but we got the roof on.
It's in Germany. In Germany, I think. I don't know why.
Look at the little bird enjoying the bird food in the feeder. You think he'll call any of his friends over? Look at that. He's just spilling it all right into the grass. That little stinker. Where'd he go? There he is. So after this wild adventure of getting this last panel with the ridge cap on, make sure that that top piece that sticks out and it's got to get slid in, gets slid in. I started to get mine in and it wasn't in. I had to pull it, slide it back up and make it go in. So that way all of this will line up on the other side. So the next thing we're going to be doing is look like we're going to be putting all these screws across the top. And then we're going to be putting some screws down here in those little tabs. Then we're going to be putting screws right down along the center trussels. Make sure that your channels over, the one that's supposed to be under is under and the one that's supposed to be on top will be on top. Otherwise you're going to have a leaking problem when it rains in here. So make sure all that stuff is done right. Now you'll notice too before that I didn't tighten my header pole that goes over. So now that these panels are in, I'm going to go ahead and bring it together. That means that my overlap for the channel here will be more defined and tighter. And then we can go ahead and screw everything in and then we'll be working on the doors. Looks like fun, huh? Let's see. Yep. So follow your book and it'll tell you about all these screws you got to put in. And then the next one will be putting in the doors. But let's finish the roof first. Woohoo! Alright, so we had trouble with, this is the overlapping left side. This is the front. This is the back. We had a hard time overlapping it. So you see this? It's a bicycle hook. I put it up into one of these holes. You see those holes? So I put it up into the hole and I use the header, the ridge header here, to pull it down and then I had to put in this screw and then I could tighten this screw. And if you look, everything's on track, so there's going to be no leak in here. If you don't make sure that those things are nice and tight and that these screws go into the holes, you could have a leak issue. Okay, so that's what I did. That's my little tip. So after you've secured the other side of that rafter on the top, or you know, that ridge support on the top, it did take me some time. You have to be patient with it. Okay, so now the next thing is right here. This is the roof and this is the top of the walls. Let me show you here real quick. Okay, so here's the roof, here's the walls. You see these holes right here? That's what we're going to put screws in all the way down and come over here to the other side and all the way across. Okay, and they'll take the end screw that we've been using all along. Alright, so when securing the roof to the side walls, I had Kate come out and push down on the roof while we were screwing it in. That makes it more secure and more likely to fit into the predetermined holes that it's supposed to go into. So with the little pushing, you see how nice and tight that is for the roof to the sidewall. So let's move on to the next step. So some of the last things that we're going to be doing is, oops, can't hold with one hand and point with the camera hand, huh? Okay, so we're going to be putting screws up along here. So that's these right here. But I'm going to point out to you, you see these grooves? You'll be able to find them better for, right, here's one and here's one. That's going to be the next step. But if you follow that across, you don't want to put screws in that yet, because these are roof supports right here, and that will be our next step. So you don't want to put a screw in and then have to take it out. So let's go ahead. You're going to do both sides of this to hold the roofing down to that center trestle, and it says right here to use NN. Now if I was to follow the book, I just finished saying what I said. If I was to follow the book, to me it would be easier to put these side pieces in right here. They're showing that up here and up here, okay? And you secure them with the NN screw. I'm going to put these in first before I screw these down. I know you need to line them up, but if you don't have that screw in, just screw it where it's supposed to get screwed in at, then you can still line up the predetermined holes through here. So, got them up. Okay. Now the bad thing is into these triangle pieces here, there's holes for it, but there's no way of screwing it in unless we have to go outside and screw it in, which I don't think will happen. But otherwise it went up pretty good. Everything is holding on. Nice and firm structure too. Now this is after I've done everything. You notice here's the electric cable opening on the side wall. I did not do this in my pre-assembly, so here's this. But it comes with that one washer and one screw, and then you put it in there and you tighten it down just enough so that it can slide up and down. And the instructions are good on this. So let's go put that in. And this is the bag with the washer and that one screw for the electric cover. Oops. Okay, it's going to be pretty simple. Put the clamps in there. Get that right so you can see just line it up, and then this will slide up and down. So we're going to go inside and put the screws on. Alright, so it's on. You can slide it up or down. Kate, can you slide it up or down? There you go. And that's our electrical cover. Okay, now for the final touch. Going to put our doors on. Now we've already pre-assembled the doors, but now we're going to be pulling out the packaging for the hinges, and we're going to be installing these doors. Alright. Okay, hinge middle plate I, and the bag identifies it as well. Alright, so the hinge part goes on the outside. It's just a simple process of just sliding it on from the bottom up, and this hinge goes on the outside of the door. So they're showing now that the hinge plate is now going to go over that. Now if you look at the hinge plate here, it's got these little notches. Okay, so you need to slide it onto that for those notches. And what I mean by the notches is you see the little notch here and over here. I know my I'm using my phone, so I'm sorry that my filming is really bad. So this is what you want to lock these in, and then we'll use the screw from this bag and we'll screw it down and lock them in place. We're going to start with the right side door first. The hinge is now facing inside, so we can slide them onto this. So come on over and slide the door, Kate.
It's on the inside.
Oh, well, don't do that. I did that by accident. Okay, so we're sliding it all the way across. There we go. Now, the hinge is going to go, my bad filming again, so the hinge going right here. Wait a second, we got to do the bottom one, and then the middle one, and then the top one. And they suggest that you use a mallet, or, well, Kate used her foot and that worked. Okay, so we got it on. Now we can open the door. Okay, door is on there by itself. Okay, you can see how that's locked in. And you see the little hole opening. So we're going to go ahead and put our screw and nut, and then we'll be ready to put the other side up. You want to do it to all three? Okay. Thank you, Suncraft and Craftsman, for making this such an easy project. Good Lord. So, and this is how we put the it on, just like the instructions said. Okay, so I got both doors on. So we got this one with the little levers on the bottom. So I'm going to come in here, close that one. We got pretty good alignment here. Let me show you what it looks like at a distance. Not bad, huh? Okay, we're going to finish the hardware, and then we have to screw the flooring to the deck. Right there, and then we'll be totally done. So, our next thing is to put the security latch on. The way it's showing here is on the outside. They're showing you how to attach the washers and the nuts on the inside. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. That's going to go on to the right door. So the right door is the one without the little latch piece on the bottom. Okay, so here's one side with the washers. And here's the outside. I feel the excitement going. Okay, so I got the other one here. Same process. Okay. Now I don't have a door lock, but you put a door lock in there and that'll help secure your things. And the last but not least is the door handles. Yay! I don't know what that's in there for. Oh, it's probably part of the mold. The little thing there. Anyway, it's got screws, got everything. So, you got two holes there. There's the inside holes and the outside holes. Let's go ahead and put those on. Then, we'll be inside here bolting this down. So we're attaching the door handles in. Notice the washer, okay? So here, put it up there, Kate. The big part of the handle goes on top. You used to put your thumb groove in. Okay, now I'm going to show you. We've already put this other side in, so the washer is going to stop on the outside. There's no indent for it to go into.
Also, the handle will fall off if it's not screwed in.
Yeah. So if you don't put the washer there, the screw is going to go all the way through that plastic and then it'll come out the handle, and you don't want that. So make sure you use your washer. Alright, so we are done, but we still have to secure the foundation. to our deck. So let's go inside. Now the instructions showed to put 3/8 lag bolts. See these big holes right here? This is going to go into your foundation. Now mine's made of wood, so I'm going to drill a hole. I got a washer and it said a 3-inch lag bolt. Okay, so I got 8 of these holes all the way around the outside here. So we're going to go ahead and put those in, and then we will be 100% finished with this. And notice all the little stuff that grew in. Now for us it took 3 days in the summer. We worked on it for about 4 hours at a time, starting at 6 in the morning, stopping at around 10 or 11 in the morning because of the heat. Keep in mind that as you build this thing, it does generate heat up here, so you know, take your break. Now, so all in all, this is a good weekend project. It went together simply, but now this is a mom and daughter thing. I used to do construction when I was younger. I'm a pipe fitter and welder right now. So construction for me is not hard, but being that I'm up in age now, I'm not as quick as I used to be. So it took us 3 days, like I said. So I'm figuring it took us about 12 hours to do this. Now, that didn't include this deck. The deck took us about 4 hours to build and put on level and square up and everything else like that. So all in all, it's a fun project, and I hope yours turns out well too. I see a rainbow in the window. That must be a good sign. So, after we have completed this, I want to tell you thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope that the information I provided was useful. My name is Garnet, and I had my daughter Kate help me with this. And you'll find my husband in some of the beginning of it as well. So, till next time, bye-bye.